Hi all, we are live with Northumbria University. Over to you, Sovi.
Thank you so much, and hello, everybody. It's a good morning from the UK, and I suppose good afternoon or evening to wherever you are. And welcome. So my name is Sohvi Liekinen from Northumbria University, and I'm going to be talking to you today about Northumbria and what we have to offer, our kind of specialist programs, and also then I'll touch upon just a general kind of introduction to studying in the UK, how to go about, finding a place to study and also how to apply, just to give you a kind of general introduction. And then in the end, we'll have a bit of time for questions as well. So if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. And then in the end, we'll take some time and answer any questions that have come in, or then you can ask them at the end of the presentation as well. So first of all, to introduce Northumbria University, we're located in Newcastle in the northeast of England in the UK. It looks like it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but don't worry, we do have an international airport in Newcastle. It's one of the largest cities in the northeast, so it's very well connected within the UK. Also, if you are looking at coming to Newcastle from outside of from other cities in the UK, for example, London is only a 3-hour train ride away or a 1-hour flight, and we are very well connected in terms of while you're in Newcastle studying with us, if you want to travel and experience Ireland or go to Scotland or Wales, there's some really great connections for that as well. So in terms of our location, it is kind of very well connected and gives you a lot of great opportunities for travel within the UK as well. We are the largest university in the Northeast, so we've got about 30,000 students, give or take, and over 130 different nationalities as well. So that just means that we've got a really great kind of mixture of people from all around the world, over 6,000 international students overall. And we also offer all of the top 30 most popular subjects in the UK, and that amounts to over 200 different programs that we've got on offer at undergraduate, postgraduate, foundation, pre-masters, top-up degrees. We've got a very wide selection. So again, there's something for everybody that we offer. If you haven't heard of Northumbria before, you don't really know kind of, what sets us apart, then these are a few of the points that really make Northumbria special. We've got a campus in the city center of Newcastle, which is really convenient for students because you don't have to be traveling hours every day to get from your dorms to your classes to then get to the city and then get back home. Everything is within the city center. It's only about a 5 or 10-minute walk from our accommodation sites to the campus and then another 5-minute walk into the city. So it does tend to be very student friendly in that sense. And also the facilities we've got at Northumbria, we've recently renovated a lot of our buildings. Our architecture building is only a few years old. Our sports center has been renovated recently. Our computing science building. So the facilities that you get to access as a student with us are top notch as well. As I already mentioned, we've got a very wide range of programs to choose from. So, whether you're interested in something more creative like fine art, fashion, design, 3D design, we've got those programs. We've got kind of traditional social sciences like sociology, history, politics. Then we've got nursing and in terms of like the more medical side of things, physiotherapy in our sports department. There's a really broad range of programs on offer. A lot of our programs also have a September and January starts, depending on the level you're looking at. For most undergraduates, it's September only, but then at postgraduate level, we have a lot of January starts as well. So again, if you're kind of, trying to, or you are a little bit more flexible in when you can start your program, there's usually 2 different times you can start as well. Our tuition fees tend to be very competitive if you compare to other universities in the UK, and that kind of gives you very good value if you compare, especially to other countries like the US. Obviously, you save a lot of money because the fees are a lot lower, and also undergraduate degrees are only 3 years, and postgrad is only 1 year as standard. So again, that tends to be a very good value for money. Newcastle as a city has very low living costs if you compare to especially places like London. You'll probably end up spending about a third of what you would be paying for your living costs in London. And it is a very student-friendly city as well. We've got 2 large universities in Newcastle, so we've got about 50,000 students coming into the city every year. And that means that all the shops, all the people who work in all the shops and restaurants and bus drivers, taxi drivers, everybody, they're very welcoming, they're very friendly. They're really happy to have students in the city, and that really shows in the experience that you have here as well. And then we also have a lot of support for our international students specifically. So things like our English Language Center, which you can access throughout your degree as well, free of charge. If you want to take some extra English classes while you're studying, that's always available to you as well. In terms of the faculties that we have, so we've got 4 faculties, engineering and environment, business and law, arts, design and social sciences, and health and life sciences. And I'll introduce each one of these now to give you an idea of what they have to offer. So the engineering and environment includes things like electrical engineering, mechanical, automotive. It's got our architecture and built environment programs, our computing science programs. And for most of these, as I mentioned, the facilities have been recently renovated. So we've got really great labs that you can work in. You know, the computing science computers that you've got access to have all of the latest software and hardware on them as well. And the architecture building itself has been renovated recently as well. We tend to be very highly ranked for things like our architecture program, our engineering programs, the computing science. Those are all very highly regarded programs. So if you graduate with a degree from Northumbria in those subjects, that tends to be really highly looked upon by employees. And also we've got accreditation for almost all of our engineering programs. So again, if you are looking at going into a job in that field, you don't have to do any kind of extra accreditation after you graduate because it's already included in the program. And that's obviously really important because it saves you a lot of time as well. Here are just some pictures of our architecture building. As I said, it's recently been renovated, so you can kind of see how broad a space it is, you know, in terms of the space you have to build your models or designs or whatever. You've got that space to be creative as well. Same with our engineering facilities. We've got members of staff who are specifically trained in kind of maintaining the different machinery and the different equipment that you have access to. So they are always there for you. If you need to be using a machine, you're not quite sure how to do it, they'll be there to help you with that as well, on top of the you know, teaching you would be receiving as well. And the computing science building, which opened, I think, about 3 years ago now. So again, this building is specifically designed only for our computer science students. So normal students or students on other programs normally wouldn't be accessing the computers in the computing science building. It would be specifically for you to access because it's got all the specialist software and hardware on the computers there. Then our business and law department. So the business school is our largest department. It has a lot of different programs available for whatever it is you're looking for. We were the first school in Europe to get double accreditation for our accounting and business programs from the AACSB. So again, that puts us at quite an elite position within European universities that offer business and accounting as programs. And for our business students, we also have something that's called the Business Clinic, and this is a kind of internship or work placement program that we run within the university, where our students, with the support of their professors, get to provide business advice to actual customers and actual clients from around the area. And that gives you really good work experience that you can then show to an employee once you graduate and tell them you've already been working in a field and you kind of understand what the job requires of you. Similarly to our law department, we have the Student Law Office, which again provides free law support and law services for local customers and local clients in the area. And since it was opened in, I believe 2008, it has won over £1 million worth of compensation for real clients in law cases. So again, it's a really fantastic opportunity for law students to experience what a real law lawyer would do in that job. And again, we tend to be one of the top universities in the UK for graduate startups. So again, if that is something that you're thinking about, especially with a business degree, we have a lot of great career support available for that as well. Here's just some pictures from the business school. So this picture at the top left is the business and law school, is the one on the left. And then on the right, we have the art and design building. So if you were studying some of those subjects, that's where you would be based. And the bottom right, you can see there's a picture from the kind of law court that we have built inside the law school as well, where students get to kind of play out scenarios of actual law cases within the court. So that gives you really great experience in kind of really firsthand, kind of seeing how that system works and how you would act and how it's all laid out as well. Then going into the art, design and social sciences department, we are 10th in the UK for design from last year. And we are one of Europe's top design schools as well. So again, if you are looking at design, fashion, 3D design, interior design, design for industry, there's quite a lot of different design programs that we offer as well. We have a lot of partnerships with not just companies around the UK, but also internationally. So especially if you're thinking about doing a placement, you can be doing that in the UK, but you can also consider doing it overseas if you want to with some of our partners there. Again, the facilities have been recently renovated, so you've got very modern and very practical based facilities available with things like sewing machines and, kind of 3D printers and everything like that you would be needing within your program. And as with these programs and also most of the other subjects we offer, you do have an option to take a placement or a study abroad year as well. So you can gain a little bit of extra experience during your degree too. And again, we provide the opportunity for you to showcase your creations. So we've got fashion shows for the fashion students and design showcases for our design students, where you get to show whatever work you've been working on during your degree and kind of get your name out there and start networking as well. And also things like your portfolio, that we help you kind of develop your portfolio throughout the degree. So it's not just left for you to kind of do by yourself at the end of the degree once you've been, working with us for a couple of years. It's a kind of continual process that we help you with throughout the whole degree. Here's just some pictures of the different printing facilities, woodwork facilities that we've got available, and the sewing machines and the different facilities that you would have access to. And then finally, we've got the Health and Life Sciences department. So they have our physiotherapy program, our sports sciences, so things like coaching, sports management, and then also our nursing programs. And we also have a partnership with St. George's University that we offer a 4, 5, or 6-year medicine, Doctor of Medicine, MD program. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But with all of our health and life sciences programs, we do focus on you having as much lab time as possible. So we obviously want to make sure that you're not just sitting in a lecture hall listening to a teacher, but you get to do as much of the practical side of things yourself as well. So I'll show you in a moment some pictures we've got from, the different facilities that you'll have access to. In terms of creating a kind of environment for you to experience being a nurse or being a physiotherapist or whatever it is that you would be studying. We are top 10 in the UK for nursing, and physiotherapy as well tends to be one of our most highly ranked programs. And also psychology, that's a fully accredited program as well. And in the psychology program, you actually get to choose a specialization if you want, where we've got things like business psychology, and a few other different specialisms as well that you can choose from too. And most of these programs do include an interview as part of the application process. So having work experience or at least some kind of practical experience in the field can be really helpful for your application for one of these subjects. So these are just some pictures. If you look in the top right picture, the person in the bed is actually a doll, not a real human being. So we have these kind of fake dolls that can be remotely controlled, and so they can cry, they can speak, they can move, they can say, oh, something hurts here or whatever it is. So they're kind of like a fake patient that any of the medical or the nursing students get to use to then experience how it would be to care for somebody in a hospital environment. So the medicine pathway that I just mentioned is a collaboration with St. George's University. So if you are looking at studying medicine, this is actually a really fascinating and exciting opportunity. The way it works, if you were doing the 5-year Doctor of Medicine program, is you would do 2 years at Northumbria University, and then you would do the following 2 years at St. George's University in Granada, and then the final year is a kind of work experience placement year. You would choose either the US or the UK for that final year. So it just depends on where it is you want to be practicing medicine. That's kind of where you would be doing the placement side of things as well. SGU, St. George's University, are the second biggest source of physicians in the US, so it tends to be a very, very highly regarded degree program if you do want to be working in medicine in the US. But it is internationally recognized in over 20 different countries as well. So again, you wouldn't have to do an extra qualification once you finish this degree. You would be able to go and practice medicine directly. So it has very high earning potential across the globe as well. As I mentioned about our facilities, our Sports Central has been recently renovated, so that's in our city centre campus. We are a top 10 UK university for sports, and we not only for sports if you are studying sports as an academic subject, but also if you are wanting to do sports as a hobby on the side, if you want to just do some casual sports, or then we also have a lot of athletic programs as well for elite athletes if you want to be kind of competing in a field of sport while you're studying with us as well. So there's a lot of options there that are available for that as well. But if you do want to just be doing some casual sports, there's things like sports volunteering and clubs and that kind of thing that you can do, and you can use the facilities as well. For a lot of students looking at undergraduate study coming from overseas, sometimes you might need to do a foundation year. So we have a lot of foundation and pathway programs available as well. The foundation programs are subject specific. So if you wanted to be doing, let's say, business management, then you could do the business foundation. If you wanted to be doing fashion, you could do the design foundation. There's a lot of different options to choose from. And then those lead on to over 90 different programs with us automatically. So as long as you complete the foundation year successfully, then you automatically progress onto that undergraduate degree. If you need English support, so if your Ielts is not high enough for the undergraduate degree that we ask for, then you can do a pre-sessional English program, and there's 3 months options, 6 months, 9 months, depending on how much you need to improve your English beforehand. And the requirement for those starts from 4.5 Ielts. And then also the International Foundation program we offer as well in the subjects that I've listed there. That's specifically for international students who need the English support, but also need the academic support. So if you haven't got the grades required and you're a little bit low on the English, then the International Foundation program can be a really good option for that because it combines both of the two. In terms of Northumbria, and what we really focus on is your career prospects. So it's not just making sure that once you graduate, you've got a good degree to find work, but also during your degree, we try to really make sure that you understand the job that you're going into once you graduate. You've got experience in it. You've had practical opportunities to try that job out and see how it's going to be in real life. And then we also provide you with a lot of opportunities for placement years and study abroad if you want to gain a little bit more experience. Like I mentioned with the business clinic and the student law office, giving that opportunity for you to really try that job out while you're studying with us rather than having to experience it once you graduate. And then we also try to, with our careers service team, try to focus on giving you the opportunity to network and already meet employers while you're studying with us. So we have career fairs, we have employers come visit the campus and give talks to our students about different subjects. And of course, you've always got the career guidance and support that you can access with one-to-one sessions as well. And then the other thing that we encourage students to do is really look into our alumni network and see where students from your program have gone in the past and what they're doing now. And that can give you a really good idea of what the opportunities are for you as well. Some of the alumni that we've had graduate from Northumbria that have gone on to do some very fantastic things. We've got Sir Jonathan Ive, who was the chief designer at Apple until September last year. He's now gone on to start his own business, but he's the one that designed the iPhone, the iPod, iPad, all the kind of classic Apple designs that we know and love today. Neil Marshall did our film production program, and he has directed some episodes of the Game of Thrones series. He directed the Hellboy movie that came out last year, so he's done very well for himself in Hollywood. Victoria Pendleton studied sports with us, and she has represented the UK and won gold in the Olympics for cycling. And we've got Warren Trevant, who is a lead animator at Pixar at the moment from one of our animation programs as well. So you would be among some very highly regarded alumni if you were to study with us. Accommodation, we guarantee accommodation for all first-year students. So whether you're doing undergrad or postgraduate, you would be guaranteed to get a place in our accommodation. There's a lot of different prices available depending on your budget. The cheapest start from £80 per week, and then they go up to like 110, 120, all the way up to 170 if you want to have your own kitchen and living facilities as well. And all of the locations are very convenient. So they're either on our campus or just next to our campus. So you're not more than a 10-minute walk away from the classes that you're going to, which is always very handy. The tuition fees for next year and going forward haven't been confirmed yet, so they're still to be confirmed. But for this year, they were $15,500 for international students, and that's for undergraduate and postgraduate. There's some courses that are slightly different. If you're doing like the pre-sessional or foundation or something, they might have slightly different fees, but that's the standard. And we have a lot of scholarships and funding options available for international students as well. Some of them are competitive and some of them are automatically assessed. So it just depends on the type of scholarship, but there's always full information on our website on all of those. And then support for international students as well. We obviously want to make sure that when you come to study with us, you're not left to your own devices. You know, you've got as much support available as possible. So from when you come to Newcastle, we've got a meet and greet service at the airport, and that's free of charge. So we'll come and collect you from the airport and take you to the accommodation that you're going to be living in and help you settle in. As I mentioned, we've got free English language support throughout your degree. So even if you've got the Ielts required, you're still welcome to access the English support that we offer throughout your degree if you feel that it's going to be helpful. We've got, our visa team helping with things like immigration, finance team for helping with funding. We've also got the welfare team for any mental health support or any kind of emotional support that you might need. Then the Students' Union is a very, very good opportunity for students to meet other students as well, and also explore Newcastle and explore the areas around Newcastle. So they do a lot of trips and social events throughout the year, but especially during the Freshers Week, which is the first year of the academic year. So those are really good, and I encourage you to try those out and get involved as much as you can, because it's a great opportunity to get to know the city more and also meet other people. And then our careers team also have specialist careers advisors for international students. So helping you with things like writing a CV. You might have written a CV for your home country before, but maybe it looks a little different in the UK. And so they can help you kind of translate that CV into what would be a standard UK CV. And they can do things like mock interviews. If you've got an interview coming up and you've never had an interview before, they can kind of do like a practice session with you to give you an idea idea of what to look for. And also information and advice on looking for work in the UK and also overseas, kind of tips and hints on where to start looking and how to present yourself and how to approach companies and start looking for work. So that's all about Northumbria. Hopefully that's been interesting, and I'll move on to just talking about studying in the UK a bit more generally. So I know some of you might be in the stage where you haven't yet decided whether you want to be in the UK or whether you're thinking about the US or another country. So this is just to kind of introduce you to the UK as a whole. So if you compare about the UK and the US, what the UK tends to be a really good option for students is if you already know what you want to be studying, so you kind of have a general idea of the field you want to be in, whether it's business management or physiotherapy or design or whatever, the UK is a good option for you because the degrees are shorter. So when you apply for a degree program, you specifically pick what major you want to be studying. And that means that you only have to study for 3 years because you don't have that first year that you have in the US where you kind of do general education and do a little bit of everything and then declare your major once you've done that first year. In the UK, we kind of bypass that first year. So what it does mean is if you have no idea what you want to study, the UK can be a difficult choice for you because you'd have to pick something at least. And then once you get here, you can change, but it's a little bit more complicated than changing in the US where you can kind of change a little bit more freely. So it's just something to bear in mind. If you don't have a very specific degree you want to be studying, then you have to really do your research and really make sure you're picking the right program before you apply for the UK, because you will then have to at least start with that program. But otherwise, the UK tends to also be in the admissions process itself a little bit more academic based. So when admissions look at your application, they would check to make sure that your grades are high enough and you've done, if there's any prerequisites for specific subjects that you've studied in the past, they will check for those. Whereas in the US, it tends to be more of what's called a holistic approach. So institutions will look for students that are kind of suitable to their kind of philosophy that they look for in students. Obviously, they still need the academic requirements as well, but in the US, you would write a lot more of little essays and kind of descriptions of your personality and that kind of thing that they would really put emphasis on. Whereas in the UK, it's a lot more about understanding that you know what subject you're studying, you know what your interests are and why it is that you want to be studying that specific subject. This is kind of just a visual of explaining the kind of difference between US and UK systems in terms of how much faster it is. So especially if you are looking at studying something where you know you'll have to do a master's and potentially a PhD as well. In the UK, that would normally take you around 8 years in total to do an undergrad, master's, and a PhD, whereas in the US, you'd be looking at 12, 13, or even longer 13 years or even longer, because you have to do quite a lot more years for the US system. So it's just something to consider if you know you're going to be going further into higher education. The UK is a very quick option for that. I think we've probably discussed most of those things, so we can skip that. I think the other thing that I wanted to really highlight is in terms of the cost of studying in the UK compared to the US, you tend to have a lot better value for your money because you have to pay for less years, first of all. And then also tuition fees in the UK tend to be a lot lower as well. So again, if you are looking at studying, you kind of do save a lot of money by not having to pay as much per year and then also for as many years. But the biggest difference is that in the UK, you would never really have a kind of full scholarship that covers all of your tuition fees. So if you know you need to be relying on a scholarship for paying your tuition fees and stuff, the US is a better option for that because you are more likely potentially to get a kind of full ride scholarship there. In the UK, normally you would have scholarships that are just a help toward your fees. So you would have like a 10%, 20% discount or a set amount of like £2,000, £3,000 discount from your tuition fees. But that's kind of the most common thing. You wouldn't have a thing that covers all of your tuition fees and your living costs. That can be that can be quite rare to find here in the UK. If you are looking at the UK as an option and you don't know where to start, obviously there's over 130 universities in the UK, and that amounts to over 50,000 different degrees. It's a lot of choice, and it can be really difficult to decide where to start. So these are just some tips that I have for kind of, you know, getting that process going. Obviously, it's really important to pick a subject that you are interested in, because you're going to be studying it for many years, and so making sure that you actually have an interest in that subject is really paramount. But you also want to make sure that the reputation of the university in that specific subject is something that you've looked at, because you might have a university that has a really great reputation overall and really great rankings, but then in the specific subject that you want to study, they might not be as strong. Whereas then you might have a university that's maybe smaller, maybe less famous, and they are really, really strong in, you know, a specific subject. Like, for example, at Northumbria, our architecture program is very highly ranked across the UK, even though even with other universities that are a higher ranking overall. So it's just something to consider. You want to make sure that you meet the entry requirements for a program that you're applying for. Obviously, if you think you're not going to be able to meet the entry requirements, then there might not be any point in applying, because usually in the UK, there's enough competition for programs to mean that if you don't meet the entry requirements, you're unlikely to be considered. But of course, it doesn't mean if you maybe, you know, 1 or 2 grade points off, it's still worth trying. And you can always approach the university and say, will there be flexibility with this? And they'll be able to tell you a bit more. And also look at options, whether a program has the option for doing a placement. If you are wanting to get some work experience during your degree, it's really good to pick a program that has that opportunity, or a study abroad as well, if you are interested in that. Within the UK itself, looking at things like location. So if you, for example, know you want to be in London, then you can focus on that search. If you're not very set on the location, then you can think about, you know, where you want to be in the whole country. There's a lot of options available, obviously, and each city will have its good sides and bad sides. So looking at alumni networks or talking to students who've studied there in the past is a really good place to see, you know, what kind of feedback they're giving. Are they saying, oh, the university was great, but the city was really boring, or you know, the other way around. So look at what other students have said in the past and do a little bit of research, and that can give you a really good idea of where to start. And also things like cost of living, that can change a lot depending on where you are in the UK, and social life as well. If you want to be in a big city with a lot happening, or if you were happy to be in a small town where there's not a lot of people, but then you're going to be really focusing on your studies. So it's just something to think about as well. And then also looking at the employability of that university. You know, do graduates get work once they graduate? Is it easy for them to find jobs? They will usually publish those stats as well. And then also the facilities that you'll specifically have available for your program. That's something to look at as well. You know, not just the facilities of the university overall, but specifically for your department. You know, what kind of facilities will you have access to there? These are our Northumbria entry requirements. So what we do at Northumbria, and some universities do in the UK as well, is we look at the UCAS tariff point system. Other universities will just specifically look at the grades that you have from whatever qualification it is you have. So let's say if you've done an IB diploma, then they would look at whatever, 35 points, 36 points, whereas at Northumbria, we would then convert that into the UCAS tariff calculator. So again, if you are looking at undergraduate study, then this is something to think about, is, you know, what kind of system is the university using for their entry requirements. In terms of Japan, specifically, we look at these are kind of what we would look at for undergraduate degrees, postgraduate programs as well. So again, it can be a little bit varied. So you can always have a look on our website for the specific details of whatever you know, qualification it is that you've got. We've got all the different countries listed, all the different information on there. And same for other universities, they will usually have their country-specific entry requirements listed as well. So just take a look and see what it is you would need to achieve. Something to consider as well for specific things like medicine, veterinary studies, dentistry, they usually require you to have some kind of extra qualifications such as the UK CAT or similar things. And then things like art and design, you usually have to have a portfolio included as well. So there are courses that require non-standard admission parts as well. So just look into that and make sure that if you are thinking of applying, then you've got everything included that you'll need for that application. The process of applying to the UK, some universities accept online applications directly to the university. So for example, at Northumbria, we take direct applications to us. This is for undergraduate and postgraduate, so you can just apply directly to our website. For undergraduate degrees, you can also apply through UCAS. So through the UCAS system, you can apply for up to 5 choices in any UK university. But you can't combine the two. So if you are looking at studying undergraduate degrees and you want to apply through UCAS, you can't apply to 5 universities through UCAS and then also add a few direct applications directly with the university. You wouldn't be able to do that. So you'd have to limit yourself to the 5 choices. At postgraduate level, obviously, this doesn't apply. You can just apply to as many universities directly as you want. There's no kind of common system to apply for postgrad. For UCAS, usually it's the 15th of January, that's the deadline to apply, except for medicine, dentistry, veterinary studies, and then also Oxford and Cambridge, they have an earlier deadline of the 15th of October. So again, if you are thinking of studying one of those subjects or want to get a place, and you might struggle to find a place depending on what subject you want to study. And then once you have submitted your application, you will usually hear back from the universities by the 31st of March with either a conditional or unconditional offer, or then they might decline you an offer or reject you as well. It happens, so I wouldn't be too disheartened by that. Again, this is for undergraduate study. So for postgraduate, usually it depends on the university. So for example, at Northumbria, we don't have a postgraduate deadline to apply at all. So you can apply for most of our programs at any point during the year, and then we would just kind of consider you for the next starting date. So whether it's September or January. Some specific programs might have a deadline, like the MBA, for example, so just double check that. And again, other universities might have specific deadlines. So look on their website and do a little bit of research to make sure that you're not missing any deadlines. When you apply for an undergraduate degree through UCAS, you put your details of your personal details and also details of your previous studies, so whatever school you've studied at. You choose up to 5 degree courses, and you can apply to the same university for more than one course, or you can do 5 different universities, 5 different courses. It's up to you. It's very flexible. You also have to include your previous qualifications. If you haven't got your final grades, then you need to get your teacher to put in predicted grades. And then also putting in a personal statement. And the personal statement is really important in explaining why you are choosing that specific major, why you want to study that at university. And it's what admissions really use to set you apart from other candidates who might have the same grades as you, and then they would really use that personal statement to kind of understand you more as an individual and why you would make a great academic student for that program. And then you also need to include a reference from either your teacher or counselor or whoever you think would be the most suitable for that subject. So for example, if you're applying for biology, you could get your biology teacher to do a reference. Or if you're applying for something and you think your counselor from your school knows you best, then get them to do the reference. That's flexible as well. For postgraduate applications, obviously it's pretty similar. So you would have your previous details from your schools, whatever grades you've received in the past or predicted from your undergraduate if you haven't got your final grade yet. Again, you need a personal statement and you need a reference there as well, but it's not limited in the way that the UCAS application is. And then once you've submitted that, you would accept the conditional offer from UCAS from whatever universities you've received. Once you get your final grades, you submit your transcripts and they then confirm your place once you've paid a deposit as well. And then once you've accepted your offer, and this applies to both undergraduate and postgraduate, then from that point on, you would then request a CAS from the university, which you would require to apply for a visa. And then after you've got your visa, you've got your place confirmed, you can start things like applying for accommodation, booking the meet and greet at the airport. Most universities, especially now because of COVID-19, are doing self-registration online before you arrive. And then when you arrive in the UK, you would then enroll on campus and get your student card and kind of be a fully fledged student and start the studies that you've come for. And then if you've applied to university, then Northumbria, then welcome to Northumbria. And that is everything from me. And I think now we can take some questions. So if anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask them now, and I will be here to answer them.
Thank you very much. We received a couple of questions. So the first question, グラフィックデザインのコースはありますか? Do you have any graphic design course?
Yes, yeah, we do have an undergraduate graphic design degree. And then within that, you've got kind of specialisms. So if you want to be focusing more on digital graphic design, or then more on illustration, or whatever it is that you want to be doing, there's some optional modules where you can make it suit whatever your specific interests are.
Okay, thank you. じゃあぜひご質問ください。The second question is, what type of careers will the architecture students have?
I don't have specific details of what our graduates have gone to, but we do have a lot of our architect students' profiles on our website. So you can always go and look on the Northumbria pages. And if you go into our alumni kind of profile pages, you can search for architecture specifically and just see kind of ideas of or examples of students who've graduated from the architecture degree and what they're doing now. So that can be a really good resource to check. And it's not just our pages, you know, you can look at other universities where they have good architecture programs as well, and they will have similar resources available. So that can kind of give you a good idea of what architecture students have gone on to do that isn't specifically obviously architecture, because that's you know, the kind of most obvious answer.
Okay, thank you. じゃあ建築学部の卒業生に関してはノーザンブリアのサイトで見て、ちょっと生徒さんのコメントとかプロファイルとか見てください。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。And the other question, what is the graduation rate? Is there any difference from the US?
Do you mean as in like how many of the students finish their degrees, or?
I think so, yes. Yes.
Okay, yeah. I don't know the specific percentage of our graduation rate, but I know that each year we don't have that many students who don't progress onto, you know, the full degree. It's you know, kind of less than 5%, I would guesstimate, because we have a lot of support that we, you know, specifically focused on making sure that if you are struggling with whatever part of the degree it is, whether it's, you know, the studies side of things, or essay writing, or even if it's emotional support or whatever, we've got all those tools in place to try and ensure that, you know, the students that we've got with us go through the full program. Obviously, nobody wants you to not progress. I would think in the UK, if you're comparing to the US, the statistics might be a little different, because in the US, obviously, the system is a lot more flexible, so you can kind of, you know, drop out here and there and change majors and kind of continue that program a lot more. So I would think the numbers don't look the same, whereas in the UK, it's more of a focus on making sure that you're kind of specifically focusing on the major that you're studying, and therefore we want to make sure that you then progress through that whole system.
Thank you. We received another question related to the architecture course. the students have any chances for work placement within the course?
Yes, yeah, there is. Well, let me just have a quick look. I'll just close this presentation. I'll just quickly search for the architecture program structure, and I can give you a little bit more information on specifically what the opportunities are. So the architecture BA honors program has, it's a 3-year program as standard, but it has an optional 3rd year kind of between your 2nd and 4th year, if you will, or the 2nd and 3rd year, that has an international academic exchange. So it's not a work placement, but it is a kind of study placement opportunity. That is optional if students want to do that. So again, obviously it gives you a little bit more experience. I don't think there is a specific work placement built into the program itself, though. It doesn't look like. Yeah, I don't think so. But then obviously if you are looking at doing kind of the further qualifications like the Master of Architecture and that kind of thing, then you know, we can always have a look at kind of providing students with the support of finding a placement between the bachelor's and the master's, because you need some work experience for that.
Okay, study placement. All right. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So another question is, when is the deadline for accommodation deadline?
So if you were, let's say, starting in September of 2021, so next year, usually you would be able to apply for accommodation as soon as you've got a place confirmed. So it would just depend on when that's confirmed. And then the deadline, I mean, there's no strict deadline to apply per se, but obviously the closer it gets to the start of the academic year, the more the rooms are going to be booked up. So if you're kind of leaving it until August, let's say, then there might not be as many rooms available. So obviously if you have a place confirmed with us, then the sooner you apply for the accommodation, the better, because it'll just mean you've got more choice. But there's no specific deadline. You know, if you haven't applied by a certain date, then we're just not going to let you in. You know, we will still guarantee you that room.
So earlier is better.
Yeah,
So,
earlier is better, yeah.
So as for the international students, all the accommodation guarantee, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, if you're a new student to us, then we will guarantee that you've got a place at our accommodation.
Okay, thank you. コンピューターサイエンスのコースに入学するために Ielts スコアは何点必要ですかというご質問いただいておりますね。What is the IELTS score to enter the computer science courses?
Is it for undergraduate or postgraduate?
It doesn't mention.
Yeah, okay, I'll just mention both.
So
For
both
undergraduate, sorry, yeah. So for undergraduate, normally it would be 6.0, and then for postgraduate, 6.5.
はい。他に、他にご質問ございますか？I read all the questions we received.
Great. I mean, obviously, yeah, if anybody thinks of any questions after, then they can always get in touch as well.
もし後で、ご質問等ございましたらいつでもご連絡いただければと思います。I got the one more question. How many international students are working part-time?
We do obviously have a lot of opportunities for part-time work within the city. So because international students are on a student visa, you are allowed to work up to 20 hours during term time, and then outside of term time, like during the holidays and Christmas and summer holidays, you're then kind of allowed to work unlimited hours. So because we're in the city center of Newcastle, you can kind of find work anywhere, so you're not restricted to just working on campus. So we find that the opportunities for finding part-time work are very broad and very there's a lot of options available, especially because it's a kind of big student city. So a lot of the companies that kind of are in the city, they tend to provide a lot of opportunities for part-time student work. I don't know specifically the percentage of how many international students are, kind of part-time doing part-time work during their studies, but at least in terms of the opportunities, it is permitted, and it's kind of very widely available.
Thank you. 他にございますか? I think if they have more questions, I think they will contact you or contact us.
Yeah, I'm very happy to answer any questions, or then if they have questions, obviously get in touch with SI UK and you will pass on the questions to me if needed.
So thank you very much for today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Hopefully people found it enjoyable and interesting.